The Shadow of the Empty Chair, Awakening to Grief's Silent Storm. In the quiet hours when the world slows to a whisper, there it stands, the empty chair at the table. Not just a piece of furniture, but a sentinel of memory, a hollow echo of laughter that once filled the room. It becomes a reminder, yes, but also an invitation. An invitation to rebuild, to reimagine a life that has been shattered, piece by fragile piece. This is the story of grief, not as a thief that steals your joy, but as a reluctant teacher guiding you through the ruins toward a dawn you never thought possible. Welcome to 6 Costly Choices to Avoid While Grieving a Spouse, a journey through the heart's deepest valleys, where sorrow meets resilience and lost births renewal. Picture this. A woman named Elena, in her mid-50s, sits alone in her kitchen one autumn evening. The leaves outside swirl like forgotten promises, and the steam from her untouched cup of tea rises like a ghost. Her husband, Marco, had been her anchor for 30 years. Through the chaos of raising 2 children, the financial storms of a small business, and the quiet joys of weekend walks in the park. Then in a blink, a heart attack claimed him. Now the chair where he sat, reading the newspaper with that mischievous grin, mocks her with its emptiness. She reaches out instinctively, her fingers brushing the air where his hand should be. This is where our story begins, not in defeat, but in the raw, unfiltered truth of transformation. Grief, my friend, is not merely sorrow. It's a metamorphosis, a fierce alchemy that turns the lead of loss into the gold of wisdom. When you lose a spouse, it's as if the very fabric of your existence unravels. The person who shared your dreams, your secrets, your silences, gone. But in that void, something stirs. A quiet voice within, urging you to rise, to honor the love that was by forging a path forward. Yet this path is fraught with pitfalls, choices that seem harmless in the fog of pain, but can cost you dearly. We'll explore 6 of these costly choices, weaving through the emotional, practical, and spiritual landscapes of grief. But first, let's step into the storm, understanding its power and its purpose. Imagine grief as a vast ocean, its waves crashing relentlessly against the shores of your soul. In the initial surge, you're adrift, clinging to fragments of the life you knew. The world expects you to move on, but how? Society whispers platitudes. Time heals all wounds, while your heart bleeds in silence. Elena, our metaphorical widow, felt this acutely. In the weeks after Marco's passing, she wandered her home like a stranger, the routines they built together now jagged reminders. Making coffee for 2, only to pour 1 cup. Folding laundry and finding his shirt, the scent of his cologne a dagger to the chest. This is the reality. Grief isn't linear. It's a spiral, pulling you deeper before lifting you higher. But transformation begins when you recognize that this pain isn't an enemy. It's a signal, a call to awaken parts of yourself long dormant. Perhaps you've been the caregiver, the supporter, subsuming your identity in the we. Now alone you're forced to rediscover I. It's terrifying, exhilarating, like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, wings wet and fragile, testing the air. Yet in this vulnerability lies power, the power to choose not just survival, but thriving. Now let's delve into the common mistakes that can derail this journey. These aren't judgments. They're beacons, drawn from the stories of countless souls who've navigated these waters. The first costly choice, rushing into major financial decisions without pause. In the haze of grief, the practical world intrudes mercilessly. Bills pile up, insurance claims loom, and the temptation to act swiftly, to sell the house, liquidate assets, or dive into investments can be overwhelming. Elena made this error early on. Overwhelmed by the mortgage on their family home, she considered selling it impulsively, envisioning a smaller condo as a fresh start. But grief clouds judgment. Emotions masquerade as logic. Think of your finances as the roots of a tree, anchoring you through the storm. Uproot them hastily and the tree topples. Experts in bereavement counseling often advise a grief moratorium on big decisions. Wait 6 months to a year if possible. Why? Because grief impairs cognitive function, much like sleep deprivation. Your brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive decisions, is hijacked by the amygdala's emotional flood. Studies from psychologists like those at the American Psychological Association show that widows and widowers are at higher risk for financial exploitation in the first year post-loss. Scammers prey on vulnerability, offering quick fixes that drain savings. Relate this to modern challenges. In our digital age, isolation amplifies this risk. Elena, scrolling through social media late at night, encountered ads for grief-friendly investment schemes. Tempted by promises of security, she nearly wired funds to an unverified source. The lesson? Pause. Consult trusted advisors, a financial planner, not a well-meaning friend. Create a buffer. Automate bills. Build an emergency fund if you haven't already. Remember, your spouse's legacy isn't in material wealth alone, but in the stability that allows you to heal. The second costly choice, isolating yourself from social connections. Humans are wired for community, yet grief often breeds withdrawal. The empty chair extends beyond the table. To the phone that goes unanswered, the invitations declined. I don't want to burden others, Elena thought as friends' calls tapered off. But isolation is a thief, stealing the very support that could buoy you. In today's world with remote work and social media's superficial connections, true bonds are harder to maintain. The pandemic-era loneliness epidemic lingers, making post-loss isolation even more acute. Metaphorically, think of your social network as a web of stars in the night sky. Dim one, and the constellation fades. Research from the Journal of Gerontology highlights that social isolation post-bereavement increases mortality risk by 50%. It's not just emotional, it's physiological, spiking cortisol levels, weakening immunity. Elena's story mirrors many. She neglected outings, letting depression's fog thicken. But avoidance costs dearly. Missed opportunities for shared memories, laughter amid tears. Instead, lean in gently. Join a support group, online forums like Widowed Village, or in-person meetings through organizations like GriefShare. These aren't pity parties. They're lifelines, where stories intersect, fostering empathy. Relatable challenge. The awkwardness of dating apps or social events as a widower. How do I explain my story? Elena wondered. Start small. Coffee with a friend, a walk in the park. Rebuild the web, one thread at a time. Moving to the third costly choice, neglecting your physical and mental health. Grief manifests bodily. Insomnia, appetite loss, chronic fatigue. It's as if your body mourns too, aching in sync with your heart. Elena skipped meals, her once vibrant yoga routine abandoned. What's the point? She sighed, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Depression creeps in, a shadow that lengthens without intervention. In our fast-paced society, self-care feels indulgent, but it's essential. Modern hurdles like healthcare access barriers or work demands exacerbate this. Ignoring health leads to compounded issues, weight fluctuations, exacerbated chronic conditions, even substance misuse as a coping mechanism. Psychologically, unaddressed grief can spiral into major depressive disorder with symptoms like persistent regret. If only I'd insisted on that doctor's visit, fueling anxiety loops. Visualize health as a garden. Neglect it, and weeds choke the blooms. The hidden lesson here? Grief sharpens awareness of mortality, urging proactive care. Practical tools. Establish routines. Morning walks to greet the sun, symbolizing new beginnings. Journaling. Pour regrets onto paper, transforming them into insights. Elena began with gratitude entries, noting small joys, a bird's song, a kind word. Therapy isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Cognitive behavioral techniques reframe thoughts, from I'm broken to I'm healing. As we explore these mistakes, let's pause on the psychological impact of loss. Loneliness isn't just emotional. It's a visceral ache, like hunger for the soul. In the quiet nights memories replay, the way your spouse's laughter lit the room, their touch an anchor in chaos. Regret gnaws, unsaid words, unresolved arguments. Anxiety surges. How will I manage alone? This triad, loneliness, regret, anxiety, forms grief's undercurrent, pulling you under if unchecked. Elena's loneliness peaked during holidays. The family gatherings, once joyous, now amplified absence. Social media's highlight reels deepen the void, everyone else's perfect lives contrasting her solitude. Yet psychology teaches us loneliness is universal, a signal to connect, not isolate. Regret, too, is a teacher. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, aren't sequential but cyclical. Bargaining often manifests as what ifs, but acceptance reframes them. What now? Anxiety thrives in uncertainty. Financial worries blend with emotional ones. Will I ever love again? Modern life amplifies this. Economic instability, health crises. But here's the pivot. Grief's impact reveals inner reservoirs. Like a river carving canyons, it shapes resilience. Studies from positive psychology, pioneered by Martin Seligman, show post-traumatic growth, enhanced relationships, deeper appreciation for life. Now, unveiling hidden lessons. Clarity emerges from chaos. Loss strips illusions, revealing what's truly valuable. Elena, sifting through Marco's belongings, discovered old letters, reminders of their shared dreams. This clarity birthed wisdom. Prioritize connections, not possessions. Inner strength. It's forged in fire. The spouse who handled finances. Now you learn, empowered. Spiritual dimensions unfold, perhaps questioning faith or finding solace in nature's cycles. Practical tools anchor this. Self-care rituals, meditation apps like Calm, nourishing meals as acts of self-love, support groups foster belonging. Journaling, prompts like, today I honor my love by small steps, a daily win list, building momentum. As part one draws to a close, remember Elena's chair. It evolved from symbol of loss to seat of possibility. She invited a friend over, filling it with new stories. Grief transforms if we avoid the costly choices. Ahead, deeper dives await, navigating the tides, the costly choices that anchor or uproot. The ocean of grief is vast, its tides unpredictable. One moment, you're carried gently by memories of love. The next, you're pulled under by a riptide of doubt. In part one, we met Elena, grappling with the empty chair left by her husband Marco's sudden passing. We explored three costly choices: rushing into financial decisions, isolating from loved ones, and neglecting health, and saw how grief, like a sculptor, chips away at the old to reveal the new. Now in part two, we dive deeper, navigating three more choices that can anchor you in healing or uproot your fragile progress. This is 6 costly choices to avoid while grieving a spouse, a journey not of loss alone, but of rediscovery, resilience, and hope. Picture Elena at her kitchen table, the same table where the empty chair once loomed like a ghost. It's been 6 months since Marco's death, and the initial shock has dulled into a persistent ache. She's begun to venture out, small steps, like coffee with a friend or a walk in the park. But the waves of grief still crash unexpectedly. A song on the radio, a stranger's laugh that echoes Marco's, and she's adrift again. This is the nature of grief, not a straight path, but a spiral circling through pain toward wisdom. Yet in this spiral, choices loom large, each one a tide that can carry you forward or pull you back. Let's begin with the fourth costly choice, clinging to guilt or unresolved regrets. Guilt is grief's shadow, whispering lies that bind you to the past. If only I'd been more patient, Elena thought, replaying late-night arguments over trivial things, dishes left in the sink, forgotten anniversaries. Or worse, the unspoken, I never said I loved you enough. These thoughts are chains, anchoring you to a moment you can't change. In our modern world where social media amplifies comparison, perfect couples, curated memorials, guilt festers. You see others' tributes and wonder, did I do enough? Imagine guilt as a heavy stone you carry across the beach. Each step sinks deeper into the sand, exhausting you. Psychologically, guilt is a cognitive trap, rooted in the brain's tendency to seek control in chaos. Studies like those from the Journal of Loss and Trauma show that unresolved guilt and bereavement can prolong depression, even leading to complicated grief, a state where mourning becomes a life sentence. Elena's guilt manifested in sleepless nights, replaying what-ifs like a broken record. What if she'd urged Marco to see a cardiologist sooner? What if she'd been kinder? The hidden lesson here is forgiveness, not just of your spouse, but of yourself. Guilt thrives in silence, but it withers in expression. Elena found solace in writing letters to Marco, not to send, but to release. "I'm sorry," she wrote, "but I loved you fiercely, flaws and all." This act, simple yet profound, is a tool. Write the unsaid. Burn the letter if you must, or keep it as a testament to your humanity. Spiritually, this aligns with many traditions: Buddhist teachings on letting go, Christian notions of grace. Practically, therapy like acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, helps reframe guilt. Instead of "I failed," try "I'm learning to honor our love by living fully." Relate this to modern challenges, the pressure to be strong in a productivity-obsessed culture. Social media posts celebrating perfect marriages can make your own feel inadequate, fueling regret. Counter this with community. Grief support groups, whether online like Soaring Spirits or local meetups, offer spaces to voice regrets without judgment. Elena joined one, hearing others' stories of if-onlys and realizing she wasn't alone. This universality is a balm, loosening guilt's grip. The fifth costly choice: avoiding new experiences or growth opportunities. Grief can feel like a cocoon, tempting you to stay wrapped in the familiar, safe but stagnant. After Marco's death, Elena resisted change. The idea of traveling alone, taking a class, or even redecorating felt like betrayal. This was our life, she thought, clinging to routines frozen in time. But life, like the tide, moves forward, and resisting it risks stagnation. Think of your life as a garden after a storm. The old blooms are gone, but the soil is rich, ready for new seeds. Avoiding growth is like refusing to plant, fearing the new won't match the old. Psychologically, this ties to stuckness, a term used in grief counseling to describe prolonged avoidance of change. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that embracing new roles, volunteering, learning a skill, correlates with higher resilience post-loss. Yet modern hurdles like financial strain or time constraints make this hard. Elena, juggling work and bills, felt she had no energy for extras. But growth doesn't require grand gestures. It's in the small, intentional steps. Elena tried a pottery class, her hands shaping clay, a metaphor for reshaping her life. The first vase cracked, but the act of creating sparked joy she thought was lost. Practical tools. Set micro goals, a new recipe, a museum visit. Apps like Meetup connect you to local events, easing the leap. Spiritually, this echoes the idea of rebirth, Hindu cycles of renewal, or the phoenix rising. The lesson? Growth honors your spouse's legacy by affirming life's continuity. Finally, the sixth costly choice: suppressing emotions to stay strong. In a world that glorifies stoicism, especially for men or those in caregiving roles, bottling grief feels noble. Elena did this, smiling at family gatherings, hiding tears to protect her children. But suppressed emotions are like water trapped in a dam. Pressure builds and cracks form. One night, a trivial frustration, spilled coffee, unleashed a torrent of sobs. She'd been drowning silently. Emotionally, suppression leads to somatic symptoms: headaches, fatigue, even heart issues, as studies in psychosomatic medicine suggest. In our digital age, where curated online personas hide pain, this is epidemic. The expectation to move on fast, amplified by workplace demands or family pressures, makes vulnerability feel like failure. But grief demands expression. It's raw, messy, human. Visualize emotions as waves. Ride them, don't fight them. Tools like expressive writing, 10 minutes daily, spilling unfiltered thoughts, reduce stress, per research from psychologist James Pennebaker. Elena started a grief journal, scribbling anger, love, fear. Meditation apps like Headspace guided her to sit with feelings, not flee them. Spiritually, this aligns with embracing the full spectrum of existence, joy and sorrow as two sides of love. Community helps. Elena's support group became a safe harbor, where tears were met with nods, not judgment. Relatable challenge. The fear of burdening others. In a culture valuing independence, asking for help feels weak. Yet sharing emotions strengthens bonds. Elena's daughter, hearing her mother's honest pain, opened up too, deepening their connection. The lesson? Vulnerability is courage, a bridge to healing. As we close part 2, see Elena standing at the shore, journal in hand. The tide has brought new treasures, a shell of forgiveness, a stone of growth, a wave of honest emotion. These choices, guilt, avoidance, suppression, can uproot, but their opposites anchor. In part 3, we'll weave these threads into a tapestry of renewal with stories and tools to carry you forward, rising from the ashes, honoring love through renewal. The forest after a fire is not barren forever. From charred earth, new life emerges, delicate, determined, a testament to nature's resilience. Grief, too, is a fire, consuming the familiar, leaving ash in its wake. Yet within that ash lies the seed of renewal. In parts 1 and 2 of 6, Costly Choices to Avoid, while grieving a spouse, we journeyed with Elena through the stormy tides of loss. We uncovered 6 costly choices: rushing financial decisions, isolating socially, neglecting health, clinging to guilt, avoiding growth, and suppressing emotions, and saw how they can anchor you in pain or, when avoided, set you free. Now in part 3, we weave these threads into a tapestry of healing, offering practical tools, spiritual insights, and an inspiring call to honor love by embracing life anew. Picture Elena, a year and a half after Marco's passing. The raw edges of her grief have softened, not gone, but woven into the fabric of her being. She's no longer adrift but navigating, guided by lessons hard-won. The empty chair, once a symbol of absence, now holds space for new stories. Friends who've sat there sharing laughter, her daughter mending their bond, even Elena herself reclaiming it as she writes. Grief, she's learned, is not the end but a pivot, a transformation that honors Marco by living fully. This is the heart of our final chapter. Grief as a path to renewal, a bridge between love lost and life reclaimed. Let's begin by synthesizing the psychological and spiritual impacts of grief, reframing them as catalysts for growth. Psychologically, grief reshapes your inner world. Loneliness, regret, and anxiety, those relentless waves from part 1, don't vanish but evolve. Loneliness becomes a call to connect. Regret, a lesson in forgiveness. Anxiety, a nudge toward clarity. Research in positive psychology, like Martin Seligman's work on post-traumatic growth, shows that loss can spark profound shifts, deeper relationships, heightened appreciation for life, a redefined sense of purpose. Elena experienced this when she volunteered at a community garden, her hands in the soil mirroring her heart's slow mending. Each seedling planted was a step toward meaning. Spiritually, grief is a crucible. It strips away illusions, forcing you to confront life's big questions. Why am I here? What endures? For some, this deepens faith. Elena found solace in quiet moments watching the sunrise, sensing Marco's presence in the light. For others, it challenges belief, leading to new frameworks like mindfulness or nature-based spirituality. Across traditions, Christianity's promise of eternal love, Buddhism's cycle of impermanence, grief teaches that love transcends the physical. The lesson? Your spouse's absence doesn't erase their impact. It amplifies it, urging you to live their values. Now let's explore practical tools to navigate this path, grounding the abstract in actionable steps. These tools aren't cures, but lifelines, small acts that build momentum. First, reclaim routines with intention. Modern life, with its relentless pace, can make routines feel like burdens, especially post-loss. Elena struggled to cook for one, each meal a reminder of Marco's absence. But routines can be rituals of healing. Start small, a morning walk, syncing your breath with your steps, as if each one says, "I'm still here." Apps like Habitica gamify daily tasks, turning them into quests. Cook a simple recipe, perhaps one your spouse loved, as an act of tribute. Studies from the Journal of Behavioral Medicine show structured routines reduce stress hormones, anchoring your body and mind. Second, build a support network, brick by brick. Isolation, as we saw in part 1, is a trap. In our digital age, where Zoom calls replace gatherings and social media offers shallow connection, true community requires effort. Elena joined a grief support group through Soaring Spirits, finding solace in shared stories. Online platforms like Widowed Village or local groups via GriefShare offer safe spaces. If groups feel daunting, start with one trusted friend. Schedule a weekly call or coffee. Relatable challenge. The fear of being too much. Counter it by being honest. I'm struggling, but I'd love your company. Research from the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships shows that vulnerability strengthens bonds, not burdens them. Third, journal your journey. Writing is a release valve for emotions suppressed. Part two's costly choice. Elena's journal became her confidant, capturing anger, love, even humor. Marco's bad puns immortalized in ink. Prompts like, "Today I felt you in," or "One thing I'm proud of." Shift focus from loss to growth. Psychologist James Pennebaker's studies show expressive writing lowers depression markers by 30%. Apps like Day One make journaling accessible, with prompts to spark reflection. Spiritually, this mirrors prayer or meditation, a dialogue with the self and beyond. Fourth, embrace small adventures. Avoiding new experiences. Part two stifles growth, but modern constraints, work, finances, make big leaps hard. Elena tried a local art class, her shaky sketches a metaphor for her evolving self. Micro-adventures, a museum visit, a new podcast, rewire neural pathways per neuroscientific research, fostering resilience. Platforms like Meetup or Eventbrite connect you to local events, easing the plunge. These aren't betrayals but tributes, living the curiosity your spouse cherished. Fifth, prioritize self-care as an act of defiance. Neglecting health, part one, is common, especially when depression saps energy. Elena's yoga mat gathered dust until she reframed exercise as rebellion against despair. Simple acts, 10-minute stretches via YouTube, meal prepping nutrient-rich soups, restore vitality. Apps like MyFitnessPal track nutrition, while Calm or Headspace guide mindfulness. Physically, self-care boosts endorphins. Spiritually, it's a vow to honor the body that carries your love forward. Finally, seek professional guidance when needed. Therapy isn't weakness, but wisdom. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT, helped Elena reframe "I'm broken" to "I'm rebuilding." Online platforms like BetterHelp offer accessible counseling, vital in areas with limited mental health resources. Financially, consult planners to avoid rash decisions. Part 1. The modern challenge? Stigma around seeking help. Reframe it. Therapy is a tool, like a compass for a weary traveler. Now the inspiring call. Grief is not the end of love, but its evolution. Imagine a phoenix rising from ashes, wings aglow with the colors of memory. Honoring your spouse means living their light. Marco's kindness in Elena's volunteering, his humor in her laughter. This isn't moving on, but moving with, carrying love into new chapters. Modern hurdles like social media's pressure to heal fast or financial uncertainty fade when you choose resilience. The empty chair? It's not empty. It holds your spouse's legacy, your strength, and the promise of tomorrow. Elena's story ends not with closure, but with openness. She travels to a place they dreamed of, scattering Marco's favorite wildflower seeds. Each seed is a prayer, a step toward renewal. You too can plant seeds. Through connection, creation, courage. Grief is your fire, but you are the forest growing anew.